Did you know there's administration work required on a trust when someone passes away? We get into that next. Welcome back to the channel featuring the leading probate real estate team in all of California. I'm Brendan Mohr, Realtor and Certified Probate and Trust Specialist by the California Association of Realtors.
And I'm Bill Heyman. I'm a licensed California professional fiduciary, as well as I'm a registered and bonded legal document assistant specializing in probate work. And lastly, I'm also a licensed California real estate broker.
Please like and subscribe right now. If you're looking to save time, money, and avoid the headaches of probate, call us today. We've helped families in California save thousands in costs and fees. We may be able to do the same for you. Our contact info is in the About section. Don't wait. Let's talk today. So someone who has a trust, they pass away, and the successor trustee gets to work. There's administration work that really needs to be done. And a lot of times, people don't realize how much there is to do. And you know, it's somewhat similar to probate administration, though somewhat simplified.
Correct,
But normally it's done privately rather than through that court monitored process. But get into that, Bill, what is required in probate, or rather trust administration?
Sure, yeah. Again, what you just said, a lot of people don't realize, mom and dad maybe had a simple trust with a house in it, maybe a bank account or two, and they pass on, and then they transfer the house or sell the house, and they think that's it. And you can sort of get away with that, but that's not really the way to do it. There are laws, actually, believe it or not, in the probate code that state how you administer trust when someone passes away. So there's actually a lot of things to do that you need to do. And what you have to kind of keep in mind, as you said, trust administration is more on the private side. You don't really get the court involved unless people start fighting over the trust, then you do get the court involved, but hopefully you don't. So you've got trust administration is more private, probate administration is more public. This is through the court system. But I have here a list of things, and this is not an all-inclusive list, but it includes a lot of the major things that you need to do in trust administration. So,
got it. What's one of the first things that maybe someone needs?
Well, obviously, and probably most people would think of this, is you got to get a number of certified copies of the death certificate. That's really important. So you want to apply for those as soon as they're available. Typically, you might need 5 certified copies is a good number. If it's a big trust estate, you may need more. You may need 10 or 15, but order those as soon as you can. The next thing you need to do, which a lot of people have no idea about this, but most of the time when someone does a living trust, there's also a will that goes with that. And it's called a pour-over will. I won't get into why it's called that for right now. But anyway, the law says that when someone passes away, the original will, whether you're going through probate or you have a trust, you have to lodge it with the superior court. Take it down there and basically file it forever with the court. It's required. You're supposed to do that. A lot of people don't know that. Also, you have to notify Social Security that someone passed away. Most people do, but sometimes they don't. Social Security will keep putting money into the account after they've passed. You're going to have to pay that back. So it's best to notify them ASAP so that gets straightened out and no funny business goes on there. Another really, really important thing is that you got to read through the trust. You've got to ID all the beneficiaries in the trust, who are the beneficiaries, but you also have to ID who the heirs are. Now, the heirs would be, if there was no trust or will, who would inherit by intestate succession. Usually it goes spouse, kids, parents, but those people have to be ID'd as well, and they may or may not actually be beneficiaries in the trust, because the law requires that a special notice be prepared and mailed out to all the trust beneficiaries and all the potential heirs of the estate, and that has to be done within 60 days of a person passing on who has a trust. And basically the purpose of that is just to notify the beneficiaries and the heirs. The trustee or trustor has passed on, the trust is now in effect, and you have 60 days to file a contest if you're going to. So that puts a time limit on, if you're going to contest this trust, you got 60 days from receiving that notice. If if you don't, you're locked out from ever doing that. Yeah. The next thing that people need to do, and this is where knowing a good realtor that knows probate and trust, such as yourself, can help. You need to inventory all the assets of the trust. Okay, so real estate, bank accounts, whatever there was. But real estate, you need to get an appraisal done for date of death. And that's where, knowing a realtor that's good in probate and trust can help you. I know you can get an appraiser for them so that they can get the home appraised and get that date of death value established. That's really, really important for later on in the process. I know I'm putting out a lot of information here, but I want to get through this list for our audience here. Keep in mind that if you're the successor trustee of the trust, an accounting is required. So you better keep good records. You better keep good bank records, because the odds are if it's a small family, nobody's going to question it. But if it's not, you better have a good accounting prepared for the whole trust estate. The other thing you need to do is make sure you get a taxpayer ID number for the trust. And this is really critical, and this is where a good probate and trust realtor comes in handy. When you sell a home that's in a trust, title company is going to cut the check in the name of the trust. So if you don't have a taxpayer ID number, escrow can't close. And if you don't have a taxpayer ID number for the trust, you can't go to the bank and open up an account to deposit the money in from the sale of the house. So again, that's really, really important. The other thing you got to consider is taxes. Are you going to have to file any tax returns? You probably will have to file a final tax return for the person who passed away, who had the trust, which is due April 15th in the year after they pass. You might have to have a tax return done for the trust itself, depending on how much income it has while it's in existence. Lastly, you have to think about the estate tax return, the federal estate tax return. If the trust was a big one, 15 million or more, you're going to have to file a federal estate tax return. Your smaller one, which most of them are, you won't have to worry about that. You may have to have, well, not that you may, you will have to file what's called an affidavit of death of a trustee. It's a special document that you prepare, record with the county recorder, shows that the trustor passed away and who the new successor trustee is, and that requires a death certificate. So you got to get that done. As I said, this is not an all-inclusive list. Kind of just trying to hit the major points for our audience out there. But I will tell you, if you're the successor trustee of a trust and you need to keep really good records, you really, really do. Keep those receipts, keep the records. And I would suggest if you've got a home that you've got to sell or you've got to keep track of, call a good probate and trust realtor like Brendan. It's really, really important. Save you a lot of heartache and headaches later.
Yeah, there's a lot of just little details that the realtor needs to know. A lot of times the family involved, the successor trustee, doesn't really realize sometimes there's co-successor trustees.
Yes.
And one of them thinks they can act independently of the other or something to that effect.
Good point.
And sometimes they get out of line on what the trust actually says. They want to kind of, it's like the wild, wild west or something, and just do things on their own, maybe not exactly in the instructions of the trust. But when you go to sell a house, the title company that really ensures the transfer of title, they have to review a copy of the trust too. So you have to have a copy of that trust, and we send that over to the title company. They have to do everything according to what that trust says.
Yeah, you bring up an excellent point about co-trustees. That's where if you do have co-trustees, two or more acting together in trust, really important to look at that trust and read it, because maybe the trust gives authority for a co-trustee to act independently, but maybe not. And that makes a huge difference in everything. So yeah, you're right. That's a big, big deal. You got to look at that.
One way that I've seen people confuse those two things, in life, your loved one gave you power of attorney and you're able to act independently, but the power of attorney is no longer valid at death. So it reverts back to the language of the trust.
Yeah, you're right. No, a power of attorney normally dies with the person. It's only valid while they're alive.
But there is a great solution if somebody finds all of this too cumbersome, because you've been in the estate business for 40 years
Yeah.
in probate and trust work.
Yeah, and do a lot of trust work.
And you're a licensed professional fiduciary, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So what do you offer if someone feels like, you know what, can somebody help me with this?
Yeah, absolutely. And really a program that's very, very similar to what we do on the probate side, and that is if you've got a home that's in a trust and the trustor's passed, and you're going to sell the home. If you come to Brendan and I and list the home with us, I will do all of the trust administration work for the family at a huge discount compared to what an attorney is going to charge you.
Yeah, massive discount.
Yeah.
And that's all over California.
Yeah.
As far as the real estate sale, I live in Sacramento area and I work within 2 hours of Sacramento, but we have a team of realtors all over California in every single county that are probate and trust specialists. And that's what you really want. You want one that knows that world of things because it is different.
Yeah, and you brought up another little point that we'll get into in another video, but yeah, there are certain things that a title company is going to require when a trust is involved, which the average realtor really isn't going to know about, and we're going to cover that in another video.
Yeah, it's another rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching, and please look at our info in our About section and reach out to us.